Hey, how you doing? Austin Hilton here, and in this video we're going to be talking about Palantir. This is a series of videos that I continue to do on this company. I want to state up front, for those of you who follow my channel, I'm extremely bullish on Palantir. I think that this is a long-term hold. I've been saying it's a 1-2 plus year, but for me, this is moving into a 5-10 year plus hold. I think that this company is going to be the preeminent, dominant player in its market for decades. I think that fundamentally is where we're at. And the more and more research I do and the more and more information I do on this company, I'm just even more excited about what this company is going to do long term. The stock has been flat as of late, but again, I view that as a long-term buying opportunity. I think that this stock is a $40 to $50 stock inside of a year and north of 100 after a couple of years after that. In this video specifically, we're going to be talking about Palantir's valuation right now, trading where they're currently trading. It's basically trading at 150 times. It looks expensive. So the piece of information that we're going to look at talks about Palantir compared to other companies like Amazon and Netflix back in the day when they were kind of in their beginning phases, what their ratios were and things. This is a very interesting piece of information if you are a believer in Palantir and want even more information, just kind of understand the demographics and kind of the lay of the land around the company. This is for you. If you're thinking about investing in this company, this is for you because this is going to be, this will give you a complete, really good kind of 360-degree picture of the company related to their financials and comparing it to big companies like Tesla, Amazon, Netflix, etc. We're jumping in that here in just a minute. Before we do that, this video is for entertainment purposes only. And if you get value out of this video, please do two things. If you haven't already subscribed, consider subscribing, become part of this channel. I'm a 30-plus year investor, and I have a real simple goal, and that is to help you guys make more money in the stock market, either bringing you new videos on new growth stocks, which I do every couple of days, new growth momentum stocks, so subscribe for that. I bring you videos on penny stocks that are just could be massive big winners, and I bring you update videos on big companies like Palantir, Mara, Riot, etc. You name it, I'm out here working for you. So consider subscribing. Please drop a like on this video if you haven't already done so. If you get value out of this, I would greatly appreciate it. It helps the video, it helps the channel, helps me to grow, and I would appreciate that. So with all that, let's go take a look at what is going on and what is this latest piece of information I have for you related to Palantir. So as I mentioned in my opening, Palantir is trading at 150 times this year's expected return. And that does look expensive at face value. In fact, it's one of the scenarios that the bears tend to beat the stock up with. They tend to say it's too expensive, it's trading at too high, at 150 times expected earnings, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so what I thought was really great about this piece of information was that it really dives into the numbers and really, again, gives you some perspective of where the company's at compared to, say, Tesla, Amazon, Netflix, where they were at in their relative when they were in their life cycle when they were kind of beginning to kind of take off, etc. So I thought that was really worth bringing to you guys in this video. Okay. So Palantir has a compelling ultra long-term growth outlook due to a strong position in an absolute growth market. I've said this a million times. The market that they're in, AI, data mining, data management is a massive space. In a previous video, Palantir came out and said that it was a $119 billion market, and their current revenues are at about 1.19 billion. They said that they've only penetrated 1%, which frankly, don't believe their numbers, cut them in half. Even if it's a 50 billion or a 40 billion market, it's still a massive, massive market. And we're really talking about two sides of the street. We're talking about government and we're talking about private sector commercial businesses, right? Palantir plays very, very well in both of those. They got their start in the government side and now they're growing on the commercial side as well. Okay. So despite a seemingly very high valuation, Palantir shares could be a solid long-term investment. Again, I've said this in many, many videos. I think it's an extremely great long-term investment. Right now, where we're at in this current moment in time, is it hard to look at the stock when it's not really doing anything every day? Yes, it is. As a stockholder, it is frustrating, but I don't really stress about it because I'm looking at it long-term. I'm looking at it a minimum of 12 months out. And now I'm starting to even push my look at it further out, 5 years, 10 years. This is a long-term core pillar of my overall portfolio, and going to continue to add more stock to it. Okay. This particular article, the author was critical of many stocks that trade at what are believed too high valuations. He said that he has done that in the past. That's what I thought about this. I thought that this is a good article because this is kind of a contrarian. This particular individual who wrote this. Basically, he's kind of not liked stocks like this in the past. Okay, so I like that we have individuals in the media that are coming out who are kind of like this individual. It would be Jonathan Weber, and kind of coming out and saying, hey, look, let's really look at this stock. Let's really look at what's going on with it. Let's really look at the landscape, okay? By the way, I recorded this video on Sunday. At close of Friday, the stock was trading at 22.47. So I decided to jump right past the earnings chart. You guys have seen the chart, or not the earnings chart, the chart. You guys have seen it, so I wanted to pass through that because you've seen it. Okay, so here's the three, I believe it's 3 reasons why Palantir has a lot of potential in the long run and seems worthy of consideration despite seeming a very high valuation. All right. Number 1, Palantir is active in an absolute growth market that will grow for decades. This one line, I knew about this, and obviously being a Palantir shareholder, I knew this, and I know that Kathy Wood over at ARK, they're long-term investors. They've got it as a core part of their ETFs, things like that. But this kind of really helped kind of clarify and crystallize my vision of this stock, guys, for looking at it longer term. Now, not to say that I was going to sell in 2 years. That's not my point. But it's kind of shifting my view of like, hey, look, this is a 5, 10 plus year hold for me, and just continuing to move out. Because here's why. Okay, so it's an absolute growth market that will grow for decades. Here's why. Big data, data analysis, and AI are not short-term trends that will play out in a couple of years, but rather mega trends that will most likely become ever more important. 20 years from now, 30 years from now, and likely even further in the future, big data and AI will still be growth markets. Because here's the thing. I did a video on this, specifically talking about this. Every single day, we create more data. Us as individuals, us as consumers, us as people that are on the internet, we are creating yet more and more and more data every single day, and that data needs to be managed and analyzed by the companies that own those technologies for data analysis and trend management, advertising revenues, things like that. All of that is there, and so it's just a trend that will never ever go away. And again, I like this word. It's a megatrend. These are megatrends. Big data, data analysis, and AI are megatrends. However you feel about Palantir, you cannot negate the fact that these are megatrends. And Palantir is positioned to be and is a leader in this in both the government sector as well as the private commercial sector. Okay, so Palantir is number 2, has a very clear industry leadership position. I thought this was very, very, very appropriate. Many hyped up growth companies are active in a highly fought over market. Oftentimes there's no clear, large moat for first movers and current market leaders. Palantir has been doing this for, 17 plus years. They are a clearly defined leader in their space, and they do it extremely well, okay? They are they're a first-time mover, and they are a current market leader. The company's developed a wide range of products and offerings to customers that are very unique and where competition is not looking like a major concern. Yes, they have competition, Snowflake, things like that, but truly they are the front runner. They are the preeminent dominant player, again, in government as well as growing in the commercial sector. They do get dinged at times that they're not growing commercial as fast as they should, but the fact of the matter is that is coming and that is growing. I did a video the other day talking about how they've changed how they are recognizing revenue to make it more palatable for commercial customers, things like that. So go check that video. It's here on my channel. On top of that, Palantir has established very strong connections with government agencies and the military, which will be hard to replicate for eventual competitors. They own the government and the military. However you feel about that, personally, take a step back and look at it from a stockholder standpoint. And I am glad about it from a stockholder standpoint because to me, had a hangnails bugging me. To me, that shows them that they are the hands down winner in those respective sectors. Okay, this does, I believe, result in a high likelihood that Palantir will not only be the leading player in the near term, but that will retain this position for a long time. Absolutely agree. Personally, not sure about the future leadership position of other current hyped up leaders, including Tesla. Now, again, that's he just said that. I didn't. But I thought that it was interesting that he included that Tesla is one of those polarizing stocks as well, and I'm a firm believer in Tesla. But what he's saying is that he doesn't really, because Tesla has a tremendous amount of competitors, right? They've got all the Chinese EV manufacturers, a couple of startups here in the United States, Lucid, things like that. But Tesla, are they gonna be the de facto standard in 10, 20 years? Is what he's saying. I hope that they will be, because I'm a Tesla stockholder. But by the way, you look at the major companies like GM, Ford, Chrysler, they will continue to get into these EV markets, and with their billions and billions and billions of dollars, they will continue to become a player as well. Palantir doesn't really seem to be or have that as a scenario where they're having major competitors. Yes, they have competitors, but not to the level of where they're at, right? So the industry Palantir it has great characteristics, i.e. the software industry. Big data and AI are not only absolute growth markets, they are also part of the software service tech. Just mentioned that. They offer a range of highly compelling characteristics. First, software industry has on average very high gross and operating margins. Palantir runs at very, very, very high margins. Software industry is capital extensive, which means that free cash flow on average are relatively high compared to the fact that they don't need to build out manufacturing plants or anything like that. It translates into attractive free cash generation that can be used for tuck-in acquisitions, debt reduction, etc. Third, the software industry overall is not cyclical. This was one that I hadn't really thought of, but it's true. Software is an essential part of our daily lives in doing business. Customers don't scale back their use of software. Customers they're talking about during a recession or any other type of crisis. They may delay buying new or more, but if the software is embedded in their DNA, i.e. their company or their government operations DNA, they don't stop using it. Thus, they continue to pay for it, right? And Palantir continues to benefit from that, and we as shareholders get to benefit as well. Government agencies are major resilience is even stronger than the government. Absolutely. This one I thought was talking about gross margin. Look at their gross margin, 65% compared to, say, Tesla. Tesla's at Tesla's at 21%. Peloton's at 43%. For whatever reason, they use Beyond Meat here, and blue is Canadian meat. Point is that they operate, and software industries do. Software companies operate at extremely high gross margins, and 65% is a fantastic GM gross margin. All right. So now let's wrap up with Palantir's valuation. All right. So looking at current EPS for this year, stand at 16. Palantir is trading around 150 times this year's earnings. That is a high valuation. I agree. Okay. So should be considered that Palantir is just beginning to create positive net profits. That's coming very near future. Okay. Shortly after break even net profits can't be expected to be very high yet. I agree. Two key reasons Palantir earnings should grow meaningfully in coming years. First, the nature of the market we've already talked about, and the company is active and will allow for strong revenue growth going forward. Okay, so they're in the software business, they're in commercial, they're in government, right? Palantir again generates very high gross margins, which should help it to continue to grow, with obviously help net profits, right? Each additional dollar of revenue that the company generates in the future should help improving profitability. Just said that. When a company like Palantir adds $1 billion additional sales, that will do a lot for its bottom line compared to most other companies that won't see profits grow as much due to lower margins. That's a valid point. All right. This, if you want to stop and look at it, this is looking at their EPS right here compared to for the current year, as well as EPS for the next and for two fiscals. So this is looking at their EPS and how it's going to grow, and that's basically right here. Palantir trades for 150 times this year's earnings. The stock trades for 118 times 2022 earnings and 97 times 2023 earnings. That's at current today stock price, right? If stock goes up. These aren't low valuations at all, but right here, makes sense to look at how companies such as Netflix or Amazon were valued in their younger days. Look at this. All right. Their PE ratios were right here, whereas in a year or two, Palantir's PE ratios, they're I mean, a little bit higher, but they're they're in the same proverbial ballpark, okay? And I thought this point right here that I'm circling in this chart, I thought was very salient and was one of the main reasons I want to make this video for you with this piece of information, was to talk about and go dead at the heart of that scenario that Palantir gets dinged on their high on their high, the high rate right now, okay? And it's just, man, it's frustrating. But anyway, here you go. So there you go. That's a great, fantastic chart. Not too long ago, these companies were trading for 200 to 300 times net profits despite having reached a much larger size already. Palantir, with stronger gross margins and a smaller size, is not trading for 200 or even 300 times net earnings, okay? We all know that buying Amazon and Netflix 5 years ago was a great decision. It was. Palantir's current valuation may indeed not be unreasonable. So let's wrap up with a few final thoughts. I don't know how long this video is getting. I don't see my timer. Guys, I'm bullish. I'm a long-term fan of this company. I'm going to be here making these videos for you. Hope you enjoyed this video. This video is for you guys who are already investors and for maybe looking at becoming an investor. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Huge fan of Palantir. I'm in it for the long haul. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.